Hello everybody, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, and welcome to a vehicle that has changed quite dramatically in just about all of its characteristics since I last reviewed it. This is, of course, the Object 640, or the Black Eagle, or that really annoying TDU that just kept taking steroids and stuff happened. This is a Tier 10 Russian/Soviet tank in the game. Kind of hard to tell which state it's from, but well, whatever. This, along with its characteristic, the Black Eagle, which is kind of a loot box thing, but kind of isn't, while the 640 is strictly a loot box thing, is actually a premium vehicle, so it will earn you more money, and it is actually an incredibly small, light, fast vehicle with something quite different for Tier 10 now, but was a novelty back then, which is a heavy reliance on its ERA protection. And the vehicle also comes equipped with a ready rack as well. So for start off, let's see about the vehicle's modules. This thankfully comes out completely fully upgraded with a 1500 horsepower engine, and I honestly don't know how they managed to fit it in there, but well, there you go. So let's quickly compare it to vehicles which, in my opinion, fill roughly the same kind of role. The 640 is a very fast vehicle which relies on its mobility and speed to get to places. So we'll compare it to these kind of vehicles. So as you can see here, it has a 125mm gun which does more damage than the Type 10 but less than the T14. But it has the lowest penetration as well. Its DPM is also quite poor as well, being only slightly less than the T14. Its DPM is higher than the Object 195 and the T14. I think that might be because I'm driving Cortez here. But it has a slower rate of fire than the T14, and the T14 of course has access to better ammunition as a whole, the T14 having the highest heat DPM in the game, and also very powerful missiles, and of course the Object 195 has that 152mm gun. The Type 10 having the highest DPM here because, well, it's a Type 10. It also has a very low amount of hit points as well, 3,300. On par with the Armada, more than the Type 10, but to be honest, it is kind of low. The speed of the vehicle is also very much a good thing, 85 km an hour. It is faster than the Type 10 and all of the others, but at the same time it doesn't have the Type 10's reverse speed. It's also very light and quick as well, 48 tons, just a bit more than the Type 10, a bit slower as well, but thankfully its hold reverse and max speed do make that out. Its vision range while moving is also pretty shit as well, but well, it's a Russian vehicle. There you go, and it has surprisingly decent elevation, being roughly up to the minimum NATO standard of -8 compared to the Chinese or the Russians of -7, and it's got a pretty nice gun as well. However, if we compare it to significantly more vehicles in the game, let's compare it to the Object 490, the Merkava 4M, Leopard 2AX, I'm going to put the K2 down, and of course our favourite friend, the XM103. I believe that is just with heat rounds, but there you go, and of course the T90 MS. Now, I need to quickly tell Facebook to shut up there, thank you. Now, as you can see here, its gun is basically almost identical to that on the T90 MS. The reason why it has a higher reload time than the T90 MS is because it has a triple shot ready rack, which the T90 MS does not have. As you can see here, the 125 is actually quite powerful, but kind of same T90 MS, but when comparing to its contemporaries, this is where the vehicle seems to be a little bit strange, having quite a lot less hit points than the others. XM103 specifically, Leopard 2AX, Merkava 4M. However, in the end, it is actually incredibly quick, but it's still a little bit slower than the Object 490, but its hold traverse and the fact that it does have general better base mobility, well, base agility and the like, does set it apart from the others. So what makes this thing special? Well, it is incredibly small, it is incredibly light, and it is an absolute bitch to shoot at, and as well as the fact it has that ready rack as well. 3 shells in the magazine, but that reload time of 7.49 seconds means that, well, sure, you'll be able to deal let's say 2,000 damage, but more like 1,800 to 2,400, depending on what commander you go with. But after that, it's then 21 seconds less if you're using Douglas, but Douglas doesn't really fit this thing, to basically fully refill your rack. Auto loaders will have filled them up quicker than them. The Alt-A would have reloaded faster, the K2 would have reloaded faster, the Cat B will have loaded 2 shells by then. So it isn't exactly a vehicle that you want to be able to take into a protracted brawl with. This is a vehicle that you're supposed to shoot past the enemy, hit them in the back off, or put pressure on them, or be able to hunt down lighter vehicles in the game. So it's more of a hybrid frontal assault role and a penetration vehicle rather than something you want to take into a brawl with people. Simply put, let me put it this way, trade-in with other vehicles that you could do in the T14 because the T14's powerful gun and heat rounds, or the Object 195's 152, you can't exactly do with a 640 because once that ready rack is depleted, you lose your firepower advantage. So other things, what makes the vehicle strong as well? So as we can see here, pretty standard gun with the T90MS, heat rounds as well that aren't heat MP, but at the same time pretty good penetration and very good damage as well. And since this is a Russian vehicle, it gets the high explosive shells as well. So why did you choose high explosive shells? Well, high explosive shells with 3.0 do more chip damage than heat MP rounds, but heat MP rounds are of course a general purpose round that you can do chip damage with, you can do heat damage with, or high explosive rounds not so much. So if you aim for people's cupolas, machine gun turrets, etc., you'll do about 200 to 300 damage, more so with 152mm guns, but it does mean that the Object 640 does have a bit of an edge. But it also means that you will need to be a little bit careful with your ammo choice and loadout as well. 9 heat rounds, which is 3 racks, 12 heat, which is 4 racks, and 25, you will quickly start to bleed into your ammunition inventory in a long fight, so adjust accordingly. The vehicle has exactly 2 options. There's rapid fire or top speed. I will definitely go with top speed because the difference with everything, the 20 seconds and the 200% acceleration rate, makes this thing go from really fast to the Spaceballs ludicrous equivalent in tank games. Like, it is stupidly quick. Lastly, it does also have a 50 caliber machine gun as well, so it can go through MBT side armor to some extent and damage light armor vehicles. So when it comes to shooting at shadows, cornets and stuff, if they're on 1 hit point, just spray and pray with the machine gun. It'll work out. Crew-wise, I tend to go for acceleration on off-road terrain, and of course turret traverse and cannon hit points. The AI does love to shoot you in that places. And commander-wise, obviously Cortez is always a good choice, but not really so much on ready rack vehicles, simply because, to be honest, you already have a ready rack and the gun isn't that impressive to begin with. You're going to want to put more stake into your mobility and agility, which is why using vehicles like Alicia can be a good thing. Simply put, the Mysterious Stranger can always drop people out of position. There's the vehicle hit point increase, which is absolutely fantastic. If we do actually swap to Alicia, you'll see here that, good lord, I would like an alphabetical number please. You'll see that the vehicle's hit points has suddenly gone up to 3,000 to 3,700, 600 hit point increase, which is fantastic. And then of course other commanders to use as well if you do want to. This is the recommended choice. If you're going for PvE, Douglas is always a good idea, simply because increased rate of fire, better view range, more hit points, etc, etc, but not so much for PvP because that mobility hit is more important in PvE than it is than the acceleration increase. Lastly put, if you do also wish to go with Vincent as well, always a good choice. Hit points, fire safety and stuff, etc. This will come in handy later. He's always a pretty bog standard commander to use, pretty much just upgrades every aspect. And of course, if you do want to go for the memes, there is always Quan to use. who gives you the absolutely hilarious 35% RNG increase, which is completely crazy. But overall, these are the commanders that you want to take. You could also take Affiliate if you want to use a crutch, but we are sophisticated people here and we don't use crutches. Now, with everything else, since this is a very fast vehicle, or more often than not you will be ramming people, I will go with Air Induction Pre-Cleaner for that increased whole traverse. You could also go with Reinforced Wheels if you actually do want to ram people. Improved Pioneer Toolkit, this will come in later, trust me on that one when we look at the vehicle specifics. Improved filter systems, more engine hit points, more acceleration, and of course with every MBT ever, improved bow lining or simply gun breach. And of course, improved fire extinguisher, first aid cabinet, and surplus parts crates. So, this is a very small vehicle, and you think to yourself, well, hold on, what's that? And one of the greatest strengths of the Object 640/Black Eagle is that mud flap, because it actually hides the dimensions of the lower plate. So most of the time people would just simply shoot that. Still 240mm thick, very weak, but 800 there, which is always pretty fun. But of course the vehicle, when used in a brawling situation stuff, especially with tool vehicles, Leopard 2 AX, T14, Object 195, Panzer 87 140 to name a few, will go through your lower plate, so you will need to exercise caution in what to do. However, of course, the ERA plates do help quite a bit. Now, this is where the fun things start to happen. At a deflection angle, when it comes to shooting side armor, people tend to shoot center mass, so this area. And thankfully, the super heavy side armor this thing has does actually really help, because you've got all this lining. And also this little bit here as well. But unfortunately the vehicle's turret, simply put, the bustle is incredibly weak and you will get ammo out a lot if people shoot you there, which is why Vincent is a good choice, as well as the ammunition upgrade, which the module retrofit thing. Simply put, if you see a Object 640 Black Eagle and it's side on to you, shoot him there. It's always a fun place to go. And in all honesty, don't even bother shooting the turret at this point, it is incredibly thick. So, we can pretty much sum up that A, point front towards people, shoot past them, hope for the best. And it's a pretty good playstyle so far. So, we do have some games to line up for, and I will be commentating on them, so let's shoot into them. So, we are on front line. I am with both of my friends here, minus Tanks in his Corner EM and Tank Sniper in his K2. Now, thankfully speaking, unfortunately we're going to have to listen to this vehicle's absolutely fucking awful, I have to admit I don't like the gas turbine engine sounds that much. Let me turn it down because this is incredibly painful to listen to. There you go. So as you can see here, this thing is fast, 85 kilometers an hour fast, and it will allow you to get to places incredibly quickly. Also the 1.86 second time, and of course 22 APS rounds, 45 seconds in between. Not exactly the best APS in the world, but 22 means that it will pretty much last you the entire battle. In fact, I think it might last you more than the battle. I'm not sure if you'll be able to run out of them if you're in a Glops game. But we're using engine boost right now, which means we will be able to rocket straight up to obstacles and stuff like this. The engine boost will pretty much allow you to go anywhere you want to go. Just speed straight past people, climb up terrain, whatever you want to do. So on the furthest one forward here, which is kind of where you want to be in the 640, you want to use that mobility and agility to its greatest extent, to be honest. I believe I was taking Alicia here, yes, when hit on the Draco, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping to do more. What else are we going for right now? 50 kilometers an hour. QN506 down here. Now, in the 640, you don't really need to fear missile vehicles that much, simply because of your extremely heavy ERA plating. But when it comes to double tap vehicles like the Cornet and the T14 and people that know where to shoot your lower plate, that's when you want to fear them, because then they will go straight through your 200mm of lower plate armor. So, you've got to keep that in mind. Right now we have Heat FS loaded, which is kind of a mistake, but well, I was hoping to run into the QN506 here, but he has basically run off. We're being quite cautious here because I was worried that there are enemies that were going to be on the hill, basically around here, but it turns out that's not a thing. And we're about to load in the AP. AP being a general purpose round, simply because the Heat FS, unlike on Western vehicles with Heat MP, without that have Heat MP, the Heat FS does not do chip damage. So, there you go. Now, Leopard here blaps me in the side of the turret, QN with rockets, GAU-8 as well, and you can see I'm pretty much able to cover that ground, that firing line incredibly quickly. That was my smoke and I've covered it right here. Now what we want to do is to be able to forward scout, see where the enemy is, bust through the firing line. This is the usual thing you want to be doing, but I'm also trying to see if it's a sniper or a plane designating me. If it's just one thing designating you, then it's going to be a sniper, because no AFE at this point or light tank is going to have target designation, so we can be sure that nobody's coming from the hill. Now, this is where the ready rack of this thing comes into mind, and this is why you should never do this as a GAU-8, because this GAU is going to show himself as a very unsmart person. Soon. There we go. Pro tip. Bye-bye, GAU. But now I've exhausted my entire ammo rack, and that's 14 seconds of waiting time, basically. Or 21 seconds right after I fired at him. And that is quite a bit of significant downtime for a Object 640, specifically when vehicles like the Type 10 can pretty much reload their entire stock in 12 seconds, so can the K2. In fact, the only vehicles that would reload slower than you, I believe, is the Alt-A and the Cat B. That's not exactly a good place to be with, especially if you have Tier 9 gun and Tier 9 firepower. But as you can see with this QN506 here, he's pretty much dead now. Enemy Poland ball up there. We're actually going to show you quite quickly about what's going to happen. Now, the top speed of the Object 640 is almost the same or greater, or a little bit lower than those of most light tanks in the game. So this means that you can catch up to them and to be able to also dislodge them as well. And we're also going to briefly see how well this thing's side armor is. The Object 640 side armor is notorious for being able to bounce enemy shells or rockets or whatever. And we're going to see a bit of a death trap right now. So Leopard 2EX on one side, and of course we also have the Poland ball on the other as well. We also have the very helpful hit indicators there showing us everything. So at this point I have a decision: either I go for the Leopard and get potentially killed by the Poland ball, or I go for the Poland ball. And of course we've just lost one Merkava, so of course this other idiot's going to go down as well and shoot him as well. So, watch the acceleration absolutely fly. Keep an eye on that speed indicator, because this thing is going to fucking rocket. You see, we're literally just gaining them at the same speed as an AFE or a light vehicle. It's crazy. However, there are some obstacles in the game you can't reach. This is one of them. I was hoping to simply just shoot off the top. My friend Minus in there in the Cornet, who is unfortunately going to get badgered. But it happens. And as you can see here, the excellent mobility of this thing allows it to just keep on climbing. And that's the reason I don't take Douglas, because I prefer to be as fast as possible when using this. And of course, I got onto the Poland ball in pretty much record time, but a rock stops me. But the basic objective has been achieved. The Poland ball can no longer participate in a firing line and support his Leopard, because I am right on him. Fortunately, there's a miss there as well. So instead of going straight over to where the leopard's gun is going to be, I know that I'm going to be fast enough to catch the pollen ball or to at least dislodge him again. The mobility of the vehicle pretty much allows you to make just about anybody you're chasing very uncomfortable. As you can see, spotted him again. So we're going to use that, the fact that I've made him uncomfortable, smoke up in the other direction and go for the leopard instead. So kill the leopard, then go for the pollen ball. I was hoping that the leopard was going to be somewhere else, but, well, it happens. Anyway, that's it for the leopard. And the pollen ball has spotted me. So naturally this means he knows where I am, but he's going to be on a cliff somewhere. So he's either going to be to the left of me or the right of me, and he's on the right of me now. Hit indicator shows up, a barrel straight through, plug in, 1, and goodbye pollen ball. Basically, there is no run-in from the Object 640. Of course, you could do the same with the Object 490, but the Object 490 doesn't have the gun or the ready rack to be able to. The Object 490 is more of a take-and-hold position tank. The Object 640 is better off used to dislodge people. Would I use it in PvE? To be honest, I would rather use the Object 195 in PvE, because the Object 195 has the unmanned turret, it has the height, and it has the autocannon as well. The Object 640, not really. As you can see, when I pretty much fired all my rounds at that gal, I had some significant downtime to go through. So 9,000 damage done, almost 1 million credits, which is crazy, and this is just on the premium count. Pretty much killed the entirety of the gal, killed most of the Poland, killed the QN. About a third of the way towards killing the leopard as well. Pretty much bursted straight through the enemy line and top of the team. At this point on stream, I was pretty much asking if anybody else wanted to be added to the Christmas list, and we can define that game as a hard carry in the sense that by using the mobility and significant protection of the vehicle, I was able to bust through an enemy firing line, roll them all up, dislodge their flankers, get rid of their support in the form of the GAL, the QN, get rid of the pollen ball, force him to another position, then go back and kill the Leopard 2AX. That is pretty much textbook Object 640 behaviour. Could have done more damage in the game, it would have been a 10,000 the game, but you know what, I'm fine with 900. With 9,000, and of course 6,400 damage blocked, with most of it being blocked by the vehicle itself, but thankfully the ERA the ERA blocked a very good hit as well, so that's good. So, next game. So we are back on Salzburg. Now in small maps such as this, the mobility advantage of the Object 640 is even more pronounced than it already is. In short, it goes from being able to cover the map distances and shore up firing lines into, oh god, it was 5 minutes away from me, now it's right on top of me. Fortunately there's a bit of a mix up here, but it is a good opportunity to demonstrate just how fast this thing could be. Now, the Leclerc isn't exactly a slow vehicle, but compared to the Object 640, and this is me going around in different places, it's just simply on another level. Unfortunately, this does mean that with the game's new physics system, sliding around has become more common, and it does mean that will happen with the 640 a lot. We are now, however, going to witness the exact thing to do when presented with enemies. The 640 is fast enough to do this, and not many vehicles are. So you go up behind someone, find them, block them with your vehicle, and blap them in the face. If this was any other vehicle in the game, this would have worked the same way as well, because they would have had to turn their turret, and that's an Object 490 rammed. Also, an enemy to go up against this game is the Challenger 2 Street Fighter Edition, to which there were two given to content creators, which is Will Tangent and Chavez. Just trying to find out enemies here, and okay, that's a lot of them, and that thing has 5,000 hit points. Okay, let's just back out now. Was originally intended to simply just rocket all the way up, go there all the way up, but it turns out there is a lot of enemies. There is a significant amount of enemies here, and we're going to find out how much very quickly. So, while I could have used this thing's mobility to basically just go completely nuts, and I would have killed Chavez with this. no doubt. But there's more vehicles than we need to, so now we need to back up. And this is where the reverse speed of this thing kind of doesn't really come into play that much. Just keep backing up. Get out of my way, Jay. We need to go. There we go. And now we are going to turn around and go straight up. So, obviously, engine boost back on. And look at it fucking fly. 75 reached already. 80. Just keep going and 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 going. In fact, we're hitting 90 in this thing. Unfortunately, that does mean that when it comes to turning, this thing will pretty much just fly off everywhere. So, in the space of a minute, maybe less, maybe a bit more, we've pretty much just relocated from one bad position all the way up to another. However, this does mean that knowing the enemies, they are probably going to be coming up that little street in the 6 area. I was kind of initially expecting them to come up behind, but seeing that Challenger 2 down there, you pretty much know they're travelling in packs, they're coming up. So it's just me and a Type 10 to fend off with them. So Challenger 2, at-do. Okay, let's see what's going on. So the Type 10 is kind of going a bit crazy right now. What to do. We've got a Type 10 with us as well. So this is where we just say fuck it and just go straight up. So the vehicle to shoot here right now is the 490 because he has the most vulnerable ammo rack placement. There we go. Bam, ammo rack placement done. Next thing to do is just go straight through the at-do and block him so we can't back up. As you can see here, shooting, going for the ammo rack right there. 1. Block him again. Ammo rack him maybe? No. Yeah, he really isn't very happy to see me right now, and he's going to try and shoot at the Type 10, but he's dead. Right. Next enemies to go for will be the ones down there. It's just Chavez in that thing using the Challenger 2 Street Fighter. Pretty much is the stock Challenger 1 with a slower gun, more hit points, but with a pair of Brimstone missiles, which are basically the Hellfire missiles. So far, not really impressed by its performance, but there is always a bunch of enemies over here to get rid of and look at, so not exactly intent on going through. A Challenger 2 at-do can push up and scout them, and I can come up from behind. So, there's Chavez. Let's fucking go. Just a bit, just a bit, just a bit, just a bit. There he is. Alright, and it's go time. Let's get him. See that lovely bit of over there. See where he is. 1. Unfortunately, I was really thirsty about killing Chavez here, so I'm not going to live. Because ammo rack can fire, and the Challenger knew where to hit. But you know what? I'll take it. It pretty much just showed you the basics of playing this thing, which is to get in people's faces, get behind them, block them, use the mobility, use the agility, etc, etc, etc. The real question is, am I going to take this or a 195 or a Type 10? The 195 you could do the same as well, but the 195 doesn't have the triple shot heat rounds. And of course, its autocannon isn't going to go through the side of MBTs or their side of their turrets. So you've got that to factor with. The Type 10 is slower as well with a better gun. Well, in terms of sheer DPM and DPS. But it doesn't have the overall durability the Object 640 has. And of course, it also has the Nera as well, which while we have the fantastic Japanese super duper mechanics, its armor will degrade over time. As you can see there, Salzburg, 7,426 damage to do, 7 enemies spotted, 2 enemies killed. Didn't kill Chavez though, big sad. But hey, there you go, top of the team, and a good little thing there. Also 2k damage done. So, if you do have the option to get a 640, I do highly recommend getting this vehicle. This is definitely a vehicle that if it's available, you should get it straight away. No doubt, this is a good tank. It's fast, it's fun, and it's a pleasure to use. Which is kind Kind of a bit of a stretch, but well, hey. At least we're covering a positive review from the last Tier 10 we did. And does the vehicle hold up in Balance 3.0? Yes. People use it all the time. In fact, this is used more in battles than the latest Tier 10, the Strixwagen, because this thing works. I recommend it. It's fun. What else can you say? So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little review of mine. I hope to be doing more Tier 10 reviews in the upcoming future. I think I might do the T14 and Martin next, and the Type 10. But that's it for now, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. Stay safe and take care out there.